Miss Woodhouse, such news. We have another adaptation of Emma, the 2020 version, 205 years after the original manuscript was published. It's so exciting, and we are here to tell you all of the wonderful details.
Real Screeners are back, and with us today we have local author and guest R.H. Webster. Thanks for being on our show.
Thank you. This is very exciting.
Well, I think we're more excited because we have what I consider a very extremely knowledgeable person on Jane Austen here to educate us, especially me, since I haven't read any of her stuff.
And stay tuned until the end of the review to see how you can win a copy of Miss Webster's novel Lucky and its sequel Striking It Rich. So the newest iteration of Emma is directed by Autumn de Wilde, and it stars Anya Taylor-Joy in the title role. It also stars Johnny Flynn and Bill Nighy. And Miss Webster, since you are the expert on Jane Austen, because I have also not read an Austen novel, what did you think of this adaptation of Emma?
I very much enjoyed it. I think this adaptation brings new material to the stage. It has allowed the actors to take their roles and flesh it out, but at the same time it has stayed true to the spirit of the original manuscript.
And by spirit, do you mean, like, for example, that kind of like satirical, comical, social commentary on the upper class and stuff like that?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
And one thing that about Jane Austen's work is that she did spend so much time in those upper classes, but also kind of was able to step back and see them for what they were. So you'll notice it in a lot of adaptations, and this one especially, the framing to set everything up like it's a painting.
Oh yeah.
But then you can
the
see,
movie looks gorgeous, by the way.
Oh, the movie is beautiful. Like everything about it, every frame was just, you can freeze it and you could print it out and you could hang it on your wall. But you can see the actual emotion that people are feeling behind the actor's eyes. So on the surface, it's a painting. Underneath, there are real emotions going on here.
I thought it was well acted, pretty much all around. I would have to say, though, the story for me fell short in the sense that it dragged at points. And bear in mind, I was trying to keep an open mind here, but I felt like it didn't really go into a lot of the characterization. I felt like it kind of ping-ponged all over the place. So it was entertaining at points, but I wasn't really drawn into it.
Yeah, I felt that the movie dragged at points. I just think that where it kind of stands out is that it's like, it's about relationships, basically. It's about how women and men behave, and it's about the prejudices that we have as men and women, and that's kind of like what makes it interesting. But it definitely was a slow burn. I have to admit that I had trouble keeping my eyes open a couple of times, but
I mean, the social commentary is there, and like she said, I think it stayed true to the novel from that sense, even though I haven't read them.
Right.
But I mean, I've heard enough about Jane Austen's themes and whatnot to say that, yeah, they did a good job in that department.
And guys, let's not forget about Bill Nighy. I mean, I remember him from Love Actually and Underworld. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, definitely did a great job in this movie. He was definitely the comic relief.
Absolutely. And
I don't know.
needed too at times.
That's what I was going to say, because for me, a lot of the characters in this movie felt a little bit cold and distant, a little bit dry, and so, but that's, I guess, getting to the culture.
And also, is that kind of Jane Austen's humor as well?
To be a little bit dry and withdrawn?
No. To inject these moments of levity or silliness.
Yes. It can be, yes, where one person says this is how it's supposed to be, and then somebody else in the scene goes completely against that. And interestingly enough, Mr. Woodhouse typically is played very straight and very much like a hypochondriac who's scared of the cold and constantly has blankets on his legs.
You kind of got a little bit of a sense of that.
And you got a little bit of that, but then towards the end, there's a really awesome moment in one of the final scenes where Mr. Woodhouse seems to have a jump in self-awareness, and he uses his hypochondriac, I won't give spoilers, but he uses that hypochondriac mentality to, move the plot along.
There you go.
And
very well said.
Yes, and I really like that particular moment was one of the crowning moments of the film. It's a very small moment, but it was one of the best.
We haven't talked about, Taylor-Joy enough. I mean, she does play the title character, for God's sake, Emma.
Yes.
This movie is about her. Did you feel like her character arc was well portrayed throughout this movie?
I did like it. I found that once she had her character arc is one of innocent arrogance. I know those are two words that don't go together. Vanity, and then and she has a downfall, and then after that she goes on a bit of a redemption quest for the last 15 minutes of the movie. I think that when she had her downfall, I saw a lot more of her expression. But leading up to that, her expressions were very small, so they're very subtle. And where it feels like a movie drags is the subtleness in a lot of the portrayals.
Right. I kind of felt like, even though I noticed there were signs of her as a redeemable character, I just kind of felt like generally not really
an unlikable character,
not really redeemable enough qualities for me to really kind of root for her at the end. But
she's completely written that way.
Yeah.
So Jane Austen was on the record as saying that she wrote Emma to be an unlikable character, a protagonist that only Jane Austen herself would like. And I think that's actually one of the things that endears Emma to me so much, is that she is flawed. Whereas you have Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice, who's like perfect in her moral upstanding, and you have the elder Dashwood sister, who is so just sensible, and then you have Emma, who is just all over the place and flawed in her own little ways. She's sweet, but she's not quite all there.
And the character that I enjoyed the most was Mr. Knightley, actually, because I like a person that can see through people's facades and also put them in their place. So he won it for me, and not just that. I thought that
he's by far the most authentic character.
Right. I thought the actor did a really good job of showing a range of emotions, and it felt very believable to me. I don't know what else he's been in, but I'd like to see.
He's very much the voice of reason in this movie. A lot of the times, I feel.
Move over, Mr. Darcy. Mr. Knightley's in town.
And definitely not to be forgotten in this movie are the techniques, right? I mean, the music, the costumes, right? I mean, it captures the period perfectly. Every shot looks, like you said, like a painting, right? I mean,
you were talking about the costuming earlier.
Oh yeah, the tiny details on the costume. Like I was noticing the earrings that Emma was wearing, or like the small embroider on the arm of her jacket. Just beautiful. And then the music. Like I had to say that I was pleasantly surprised that we did not get a full soundtrack of Vivaldi from the trailer. I had just expected nothing but string quartets the whole way. There was a lot of vocals on the music, which are very different.
There were actual songs.
They're very different from a typical Austen adaptation. I've never heard that on any of the adaptations I've seen.
What did you think of that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get the soundtrack once I get home tonight.
And now it is time for our real ratings. I'll go ahead and start off here. Again, I had mentioned that the movie, although I felt like it had some nice themes that really resonated with me, because I have similar perspectives on elitism and stuff like that. I did feel like it dragged at points. I didn't really buy into some of the characters. Again, I'm not a huge Jane Austen fan. Maybe I should be, right? But for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and give this, for me, 3 out of 5 reels. What say you, Mr. Beto?
I was going to give the movie, I am going to give the movie 3.5 reels. Didn't really buy into the comedy in the movie. For me, a drag, bottom line. Well acted, beautiful to look at, and definitely has some interesting ideas to say about society.
Now let's ask the person who really matters.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead, Webster. What did you think about the movie?
I'm going to have to go with 4 reels.
All right.
I'm going to give it 4 reels for look for innovation, fleshing out characters that are normally just relegated to a couple of pages here and there.
Okay.
I think it's done really well.
Okay. And how would you compare it to maybe other iterations of Emma?
I would say that right now it is above the 1990s version with Gwyneth Paltrow, but it is not quite as good as the 2009 BBC miniseries.
Which is the one that you recommend the most?
Yes, it's 4 episodes. It's almost a word-for-word adaptation, but the chemistry between Emma and Mr. Knightley in the 2009 version is just so on point. It's hard to really see anybody else except Johnny Lee Miller and, I'm going to say her name wrong, Romola Garai, as those 2 characters.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay.
Well, you heard a recommendation. Go ahead and check that out, folks. And again, check out R.H. Webster's novels, Lucky and Striking It Rich.
That's right. And in order to win a copy of those 2 wonderful books, please leave a comment below, and we will make sure that you get those in a bundle.
And as always, guys, we tell you guys, check out these movies at the Alamo Draft House. It is an overall great experience, both inside the theater and outside.
And don't forget to look us up on social media. We're on Facebook at Real Screeners and Instagram Real.Screeners. And don't forget to hit that subscribe and bell button, and stay tuned next time for some more Real Takes on movies.
Miss Woodhouse. Mother, you must try the tot.
The tater tots.
Don't try the tot.
Yes, and in order to win those,
We're doing so well here.
in order to win those.